Wow.
27 or something.
And
Yeah.
you do everything in the Dutch language.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Ah.
It's nice to speak in Dutch on
Oh,
on
make it sure, of course.
I like it. I like it. But you know, it's hard to explain.
Yeah, how
About
about do they have
it.
corresponding words in Dutch that you can use for some of the ideas? Like
But I know also in the course of years, several years, I can just help tiny bit, just a little, but it doesn't matter because one never knows that somebody may take to it or find it
how
interesting.
to interpret the words.
So I say some words every day, every time, but I try to make it not long
Yeah. Oh, that's
because
great.
when it's too long, people
Do you
get
do it? Do you do it
tired.
with Zoom also? Do you
Oh,
do
yes.
it with Zoom also, Nina?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? Because you have to end up paying for it. I think the foundation should help you pay for that Zoom. You know,
To pay for what?
but the Zoom. Do you
Oh, no. Zoom is free.
free? No.
No,
It's
no, no.
free for us when we tune in, but for the
Oh,
person who
okay. But
organizes
I pay
the
some
discussion,
money
it's not free.
to the Dutch organizers sometimes once a year or
But
something.
they pay their own. How nice.
And they see to it, you know, yeah.
But in case you need any help from the foundation for that, please ask. Okay.
No,
You
yeah.
know, so that I can tell them at the board meeting. All right.
Yeah.
So that would be good.
It's lovely. But Nina, it's good to know some. You say book knowledge, but it's also good to know, you know, some of the. Otherwise, I could not understand anything we're talking about here. So I need a little bit of background.
That's true. The balance, you know, the balance always, because it depends on the listener too. Yeah, if people have never heard anything, it's good to talk about basics, and at the same time, one tries to explain that the Buddha would always emphasize the present moment, because at that time there were no books. At the Buddha's time there were no books, you know, so it's good to emphasize little by little, but always little by little, I think. my friends get tired if I talk too long. So we interchange it with loose talk, you know, general talk.
I don't think they had a written language either at the Buddhist time, if I'm not correct about that.
Well, Ajahn is here.
Hi,
Maybe,
John.
maybe
Hi, John.
Sawadika Ajahn.
Sawadika.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Yeah.
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีค่ะ
Hi, John.
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์
Please carry on.
We carry on. We talk about thinking and awareness, and difficult to explain to other people, but for ourselves too. It means we ourselves have not quite 100% understood. So it's always a good topic. And the Dhamma is so subtle because we try to explain the present moment, that it is so short. And I got a good reminder from Sarah that even that can be a story about the length of a Dhamma and the shortness of Dhamma. So it's always a balance one has to find. And one way people have to hear something about it. On the other side, it depends on the understanding of the listener and not to make a story out of it. So it's always a question of a balance. And Ajahn always says that little by little, and the development should be very natural. And I like it that Ajahn stresses that Dhamma is unexpected all the time, and that helps a lot. because otherwise we are trying to know, but it is unexpected. It's a good reminder. I like that.
Nina, you know what acts as a very good odds handle? You know that machine that they talk about in the Tipitaka, the odds, the thing that planes the wood, that you don't notice it until at some point one day you notice the handle has been worn away a little bit. So this is the same way. If you look at, for instance, notes you took, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, whatever, and you see a difference. I know that happened to me. I looked at notes I took a long time ago, and I see the difference.
Yeah.
So for me, that acted like the ads handle. You can finally at some point see it worn away. So,
Yeah. So maybe Ajahn can add something to help us.
yes, absolutely.
I think that usually in a day when we don't have Dhamma discussion and no reading about it, no listening about the word of the Buddha, we just think about anything in life as before. That's why just hearing a word and begin to understand the truth of it. For example, what is there now? See, just now is very important because it's there to be known or unknown as before. That's why, how can there be right understanding of that which is now appearing without thinking, after hearing, considering wisely about the truth is there. But as the truth is so very subtle, that's why it does not appear as it is at all, but begin to understand the truth. And it doesn't matter how much in a day we forget about it. It's so natural because not enough conditions for thinking, even thinking about the truth, but hearing again and again, just like now. That which is now is seeing. See, but the truth of it is that what is it? It cannot be anything at all. It is the moment of knowing what is there which is seen, only that. And that is the moment, one moment of seeing, not hearing, not thinking. That's why when we learn about what is there in life, only different realities from moment to moment, from moment of birth, what is there? There must be the reality which experiences, but the object of experience at that moment does not appear at all because it's not like seeing right now, not like hearing, thinking, smelling, tasting. That's why we learn to understand the nature of a reality which is there by conditions. No one can make it arise because it's there now. At moment of thinking and hearing, there is seeing as well. But they are different. They cannot be in the same moment at all. That's why just hearing again and again, it is the moment of developing. Think about that when it's there. For example, while one is taking a bath, what is there? Hardness, heat, or cold is there. Before hearing, no awareness of that at all. But after hearing, there can be a moment of touching with what with that which is touched appear. And it's time to condition moment of understanding it a little, but actually no leg, no hand, nothing. Only hardness is there. So today, even right now, hardness is there. Who can make it arise? No one can. But it's there already by conditions. What to be known is that it is there only when it appears. After that, it's gone completely, never to arise again. And this is the beginning of development of letting go of taking it for my hand, my leg, my arm, or soap, or whatever is there, little by little. And at that moment, what about the feeling? Is it a moment of pity to have moment of understanding it, not as no understanding at all as before, and understanding that begin to develop that there is so much to learn to understand the truth of it as is taught from enlightenment, the truth. And this is the way to understand that what is there is not just to be object of study, but it has to be object of more and more understanding. And understanding is conditioned to begin to be aware. At that moment, usually at moment of kusala, it is the awareness of the kusala by way of dana or sila or helping the others and well-wishing speech or this and so on. But at that moment, it's another level of goodness. It's the moment of begin to see what is there. It's a reality. Just begin like that. It's a reality. And the nature of that reality can appear little by little to understanding. Because whenever it arises, it's there as object. It cannot change its characteristic. Hardness is hardness, no matter when and how much is there, what level. But no understanding before at all, even after hearing a lot. So all depends on conditions. But there can be the moment of beginning to just aware, being aware with understanding that it's that which is hard, only hard. See, only hardness is there. That's all. It is the beginning of understanding one reality at a time, naturally, and know that in a moment there must be only a reality appearing. But what are there? Not just only one. For example, seeing right now, no one study the characteristic which just arise to experience, but thinking about that which is seen. But from understanding that how can that appear without that which arises to experience it, that can be the beginning of understanding. The word that we use for that nature as nama or citta, that which is the chief of experiencing, because the characteristic of the object appears at moment of seeing. That's why life is so very natural, and it depends on whether at that moment there are conditions to just think about it with right understanding or begin to understand it as that is a reality. It's so real. No one there at all. But no need to try so hard to rush to have more understanding to experience the arising and falling away, which is the absolute truth of that very moment, because that is the wrong path. The clinging and ignorance is there. So when it's not the path, the letting go, the wrong understanding, which does not understand that as it is, beginning to learn to understand little by little, naturally. And when it is no regret, it is panya, and it depends on how great it is. It can be moment of being joyful, appreciate the moment of understanding that it's so great because before that there's no thinking, no understanding of the truth of whatever is there from moment to moment when in life at all. And that is the beginning to let go wrong understanding. So life is just easy with the moment of understanding what is there, to let go, not to cling to it, to be more understanding or more object to be learned at all. Even right now, see, no moment of being aware of feeling, Vedana or Sanya, see, but it's all right because it's not time yet. And the most important thing is that we just learn about many namas, that which experiences, which is citta and different cetasikas. We learn about the word, but it's there now, see, but it does not show up as object yet because panya is not enough to understand that. Like sanya, remembering now, it's there at moment of seeing, and vedana feels. But from hearing a lot about what are there in a moment, but only one reality appears as object. That's why learning about that moment, it's conditioned. It cannot arise by itself. It needs other reality to support or to condition its arising. And that's the way it is. For example, we learn to understand the other reality, which arises with that which is the chief of experiencing the object. But that which arises with it is that Dhamma, which also experience that object, but not as the chief, but as like it or dislike it, for example. And many Cetasikas are there. Just to condition moment to understand it when it's there, as it's a reality which experiences. That's all. No name, no word. Little by little. But it's much better than no understanding of the truth of reality which is now appearing at all. This is the difference between understanding the words of the truth, that it represents what is there now as it is, to be understood as it is, until it can be the object of enlightenment as it has been heard before about the nature of it, no matter by what aspects. But before all, there should be the development of letting go, the seeing, the experiencing as self. This morning I have time to discuss with the Indian, and as one who is listening, do you know yourself? See, that's one question can bring about more understanding what is taught. Does one know oneself, or one knows the other, the situation? But does one really knows oneself? And what is the use? What is more benefit? To know oneself, to know the world, when there is no understanding of oneself? Can there be the understanding of the others and the world? And what is actually the world? So when there is the understanding of realities as they are, different ones, there can be the understanding of anything that Buddha taught at different aspects. So we can talk about what is there now, to condition moment of understanding the truth, the true nature that is only the reality which arises and experiences. And another one, it arises, it's there appearing, but it cannot experience anything. Nothing can be taken for anything permanent at all. So the question can begin from, do you know oneself? Do you know the flower? Do you know the cake? Do you know whatever we can talk about? To be truthful to the truth, with how much understanding what is heard when it appears now. We can understand the words in the book, but what about the understanding of what we heard now about that which is now appearing?
Ajahn Ka, last week, Maeve brought up the question about she wanted to know what was the difference between restraint and letting go. To me, that I can see a difference as two different things, but perhaps you can talk about that a little bit and answer her question.
When we talk about when we do not understand anything at all before hearing the teachings, it's there all the time, not understanding what is there which is seen and what is there which now sees. No understanding. So no letting go, the idea of something or me or self. But when there is the understanding of that reality Before there is seeing, there is no seeing. So how come? There must be conditions because no one can make it arise at all. What is seen and what is seeing, no one can make anything arise at all. It's there by conditions because they are different, to be different reality, to appear as different moment, as different thing. And that is the moment of letting go. So the letting go is not I, but the moment of understanding. It lets go of the ignorance, which does not understand anything at all about now. What is there? So life is just a moment. Now, different nows, different objects all the time. And when there is the understanding of the truth, it let go of the ignorance and no understanding of the truth of what is there. Little by little.
And what about restraint? That's the same thing. With the development of understanding, there will be restraint as well. Isn't it?
Is there? Or is I trying?
No, I'm saying with when understanding develops, will there be also so restraint would arise perhaps along with letting go.
What is the nature of that reality?
The nature of the reality of letting go.
No, the strength.
Restraint. I forgot what it's called. There is restraint. It's a jetasika.
What Cetasika?
I forgot.
You're thinking of virati, huh?
Sorry?
Sati.
Are you
Sati.
thinking of virati or of sati?
Sati. Like
No.
at the moment of guarding the sense doors, it's sati that is restrained, which guards.
Yes, guarding the sense doors. What is that called in Pali?
Sati. So without sati, which guards and restrains, understanding can't develop.
Okay.
So that's why we read about how it's sati which stems the flows, the currents, but panya which dams the currents or stops the currents. So sati is a condition for understanding, to let go of ignorance. Without the restraint by sati, then panya cannot let go, cannot understand what appears now. So they have to develop together.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No one who restrains, no one who understands.
Pali word samvara sila.
Yes, restraining.
Yeah.
Sati.
I think that it doesn't matter what word we use, but the understanding of the nature of that reality is more important. That's why we use Pali term. And it's Pali word, so that Thai cannot understand it clearly. Even the people who use that word, it's their language. But what about the understanding of the nature of that, which Buddha taught about? That's why it's very deep and subtle to understand what Buddha said in all aspects. So what is that which we use, the word restraint or sati or guide or what? See, at moment of anger, and there are conditions at that moment to say something. But what's that? Not say it out. A reality, see, which arises with each moment, which is wholesome, because panya or wholesome realities knows that it's not useful to speak out that word or something like that. Anything through deeds or speech, it's there. And in order to understand any reality, it has to be moment of satipatthana. Otherwise, we just talk about their nature, their characteristic, their function, and so on. But when it's not there at moment, which is right understanding of that moment with awareness, the characteristic of sati or awareness can appear at that very moment, or any reality can appear. That's why there is the word talking about the real panya, the nature of panya. It's not just understand or can recite the word or can talk about any subject with this and that as cause and result, but it is the moment when that appears as it is to understanding only, without understanding. If understanding is not there, there cannot be understanding of its nature at all, even when it's there. That's why at moment of kusala is there. Who knows the characteristic of sati, restraint at that moment, because it's there already. But not just only that, so many, many satta, hiri, ottappa, and other wholesome reality are there together. So in order to understand the nature of any reality, it's just at moment of satipatthana, because satipatthana is aware of a reality with right understanding. Otherwise, it's just like any moment when it's there without understanding. No understanding of the nature of the reality which is there. This is the difference between, we use the word sati. So it's there with any moment, a wholesome moment. For example, we talk about seeing right now, that which experiences an object. But when it's there as object, the characteristic of sati does not appear because it's not there, direct awareness with understanding. So I think that each reality is not easy to really understand it, but it develops to understand the truth of the difference between each one as much as we can talk about. Even the rupa, that which is not the reality which experiences. And in the day, we talk about the seeing, hearing, and so on. And some might have doubt about Chakku Prasada, see. And what about the Hatayavatu? See, can anyone know? It's not hardness and softness. Chakupasata is not that which is hard or soft, but it's a rupa different from Hatayavatu and other rupa. See, even rupa is so very subtle to understand. It's there at moment of birth, together with the four primary rupas and the other rupa, the eight in Akalapa, but there must be that Hatayavatu. So how can anyone imagine the characteristic of that rupa, which is different from hardness and softness, and the Chakupasata is not the Sotapasata and so on, see? And what about Chitta and Citasikas? We talk about the realities which can experience rising together but experience the same object, different function, different characteristic, and it's now at this moment. That's why just to learn to understand the truth, that we learn to understand the nature of it as not self. But as long as it does not appear to the developed panya, its nature does not appear as nothing at all at that moment, because it's the object is the experiencing, and the experiencing does not have any characteristic as shape, color, and hardness and softness at all. Not any rupa in it. So what about that? See, it's there now, arising and falling away, and experience each moment as long as there are conditions for that to arise at different time to be different realities, only once in samsara, and then never to arise again. So it's not I who can try to do anything, but it's moment of pity to be able to understand the depth and the subtlety, the profoundness of the teachings of the Buddha about that which takes quite a long, long time to understand its nature, to for it to arise and appear as it is, as object. Otherwise, it's just only thinking about that which experiences. The nature of it is just conditioned to arise to see in a moment, another moment to hear, a moment, another moment to think, and so on, all the time. But to learn to understand the nature which experiences, even this word is there. But as long as it does not show up, reveal itself as only that, nothing more, only an object and only that characteristic, which is different. For example, feeling of pain can be at that moment with the citta, which experience the object, which condition pain. But what appears is different from that which experience because it's a feeling, the painful feeling, so on. That's why reality are so very subtle. What about just a moment, a reality in a moment? It's like as we compare the tiny ant with people, elephant, monkey, or anything. All Adamas and the Kalapas are the same. And this is so true. So at moment of understanding, seeing the subtlety of each reality is pity to not have wrong understanding and ignorance as before, little by little, until the moment of whatever is there appears so well as it is, so clear as it is. But the clearness, the clarity is not clear until it's there as enlightened moment, because it has to begin to appear well and more clear, little by little. No doubt about it. So that's why if it's not the understanding of whatever is there by conditions, there cannot be moment of enlightened truth, because what is there is ignorance and attachment to that which is not known, no sati, see. So one begin to understand what is meant by sati at different levels. Sati now at moment of understanding the teaching of the Buddha is different from sati when it's there understanding the characteristic which appears. And it's more, when there is more understanding, sati is there too. No need to think about anything because all depends on conditions to have more confidence of the truth of anatta. Who knows the next moment? Is there piti now or no piti? Better than not understanding anything as before. Because before hearing the teachings and begin to understand the truth, even what is meant by the world or a reality, before that there is no understanding at all. But when there is the understanding, one can see that there can be more understanding of the truth when there are enough conditions. So all depends on conditions. If one just want to have more, it's not the right path. It is lopa again, there, unknown as now. So as much as we can understand the words of the Buddha, it has to be moment of wise considering again and again, little by little, by conditions, not by I. It can be at any moment while one is eating, walking, reading, anything. By conditions, even right now, the object is exactly the same, but awareness, restraint, guidance is there to be there for panya to understand it. So there is different feeling after hearing the teachings, to have pity, to not be blind as before, not knowing anything eons and eons ago, or just not enough. How can I have such more understanding to experience the direct object now? The right path and the wrong path, very subtle.
I'd like to just briefly mention for Carmen and one or two others who are not familiar with the Pali terms, piti is joy. So now when there are kusala chittas, there may be joy with that moment of wise considering or understanding. But piti also can arise with, or does arise with, attachment. So when we're enjoying the experience and the comfort, and there's clinging to understanding more, there's pity at those moments too. So without understanding, the unwholesome joy is going to be taken for wholesome joy all the time. We may think whenever we open the Dharma book or whenever we listen to Ajahn speaking, all the joy is wholesome. But there's bound to be attachment in between, joy with attachment as well. So piti has to be understood too when it arises as it is. And I thought it was an interesting point Nina was asking before, or mentioning that it's difficult to explain to others. And when one's considering the others, the chittas may be kusala, there may be moments of metta, or there may be worry or clinging, trying to find the right words or worry about how it's said. But I think Ajahn stressed the point about knowing oneself. What about the citta at those moments? We think the issue is the others, like how to explain to the others. But what about the citta here and now, whilst thinking about how to explain? Is there any understanding that it's just thinking which is conditioned at that moment, not my thinking, or worry, or clinging, or metta, just different dharmas to be understood, even whilst thinking about how to explain? Otherwise, we think, shall I do it this way or shall I do it that way? But there's no understanding of reality here and now at this moment or that moment. And earlier, Carmen, I heard you just before we were starting talking about how you often hear it's not, Dharma is not in the book, but still we need to know what piti is in order to understand what's being said, or we need to know some definitions. But the point is the Dharma is not a definition. Piti is not a definition, like we can learn the book meaning that it refers to joy. But what about the joy at this very moment? Is it my joy, or is it just a Dharma? Is it wholesome joy or unwholesome joy? So in other words, we cannot understand Dharma just from the book, even though we learn what the definitions might mean. It has to be the understanding of that reality right now. Otherwise, it's meaningless. I think this is the point. Is there anything you'd like to ask or mention about that, Carmen?
No, thank you. I like to listen.
No problem. That's good.
It's to understand it now, you say, but still difficult to understand it now. I get your point. I know.
And Kunina, what about piti? We know that it's difficult to understand.
Yeah.
Piti or piti, to know the
Yeah.
truth. See, nobody can tell the moment which is kusla or moment which is akusla, but there can be moment of studying to understand that what is its nature. And the main difference is that which arises and experience, no matter what characteristic, piti or not piti, and that which arises and can experience, because no matter where in the world or anywhere, there are only two different kinds of realities: that which experiences and that which can experience and that which cannot experience. That's all. So how can there be anything permanent or anything like I or living being? It's only the moment of arising of that reality which can experience and then gone, never to arise again. To, to consider the truth, even just very little, but it's so true, so it can be stronger and stronger and firmer, not just follow the wrong path at all, because it's just the moment of begin to hear, consider, and understand, and Panya develops the more when hearing more, considering more, to understand what is there to be known is the characteristic which can experience and the characteristic of the reality which cannot experience. Otherwise, the I is there all the time. My body, or my eye, my nose, my hand, or my kindness, or my anger, see, all the time, not knowing the nature which just arises to experience and then gone. And that which arises and cannot experience and understand what's meant by the world, whatever arises and falls away is a world. Otherwise, there cannot be any world at all. No moon, no star, no sky, no water, no ocean, no mountain, no being. So even we talk a lot about the nature of the reality which arises and experience, no shape, no form, nothing, only experiencing is there. See, it's not reveal itself to be known, as when it's there as object, the no other things around to be object at all. And that is the moment when the object appears clear, well, to be known as it is. So when there's no awareness at all, no understanding, how can there be the understanding of what is there now? But when there is the understanding, it's the development and understand that moment as direct awareness is there. Even it's so short, but it's better, but it's different from that which has no moment of understanding directly of an object which is there now. For example, at moment of touching, see, it can be awareness with understanding of hardness, only hardness, but it's not clear yet because there are other things around until it's there, because letting go attachment to the other object before or after that. So it's just a matter of understanding, that's all. And that can condition piti. See, when it's kusala, when it sees the usefulness, the value, the precious of understanding. It can understand little by little, letting go the clinging to the self. I know just very little, no I. But even that which is itself as the truth is there. No one can condition the moment of pity never to understand that before, that actually there is no self and no one. So the more panya, the more pity. To be away from blindness, ignorance, and clinging, on and on and on, more and more and more each moment. Much more to cling to when there's no understanding. And when there's understanding, the moment of understanding is not moment of clinging. So clinging is less and less, little by little.
And I think you made a good point before, Ajahn, when you said it doesn't matter how much is forgotten. It doesn't matter how little understanding there is now, because when it matters, or when we think, oh, it's so difficult for me to understand, it's clinging again, clinging to understanding, clinging to knowing more, to not forgetting. So they're just dhammas which pass away all the time. So if there's forgetting now, it's real and it's gone. If there's not understanding, it's real and it's gone. So the understanding that develops minds less and less about what is real or what appears at this moment, because it doesn't belong to me. It's just a dhamma that arises by its conditions and falls away. And that's why I think that as understanding develops, there's less concern about how difficult it is or not difficult. And one can just appreciate that the fact that the teachings are difficult and subtle is showing how great the wisdom is of the Buddha, how great the teachings are. So it all comes back to the understanding of dhammas as anatta at this moment.
And no regret. And it can be a joyful moment.
Because it's gone. It's all gone. The
Know
difficulty
the
a moment
truth,
ago is
yes,
gone.
know the truth. See?
Yeah, Ajahn said before, when you say it is so difficult, you are praising the Buddha at that moment, which is very good reminder.
Depends on the cheetahs. They may be saying how difficult it is praising the Buddha's teachings with kusala citta and piti, or it may be saying how difficult there is with dosa because I don't like it. So it depends on the moment again.
That's why even the question, who knows? Only Panya knows.
Alan or Tadao or Alberta or anyone else does anyone else have any topics they want to bring up? Or Jyotika, nice to see you back, Jyotika. Alberto?
Yeah, I don't. If I can ask about Samapadana, right efforts, because the first Samapadana says that it makes effort to avoid akusala, and only the second is Samapadana is about the effort of letting go of akusala. So, why is not the other way around? Why is not the first Samapadana letting go of akusala, and the second making effort to have kusala arising? I'm not sure if it makes sense. Can you talk about the Samapadana and the akusala, which needs to be abandoned, to be let go of, and the non-arising of the akusala, which is not even yet arisen, arise, which is not arisen yet. Thank you, Ajahn.
What is Samapatana?
It's right effort. Viriya, Samma.
Can it arise with akusala?
No.
So at any moment when it's kusala, it's there. Can it be known as object of understanding?
No, not a moment of akusala. No.
See, but understand the characteristic of a reality which is there as viriya, because you see that who knows how many moments citta arising with viriya. If Buddha didn't show us what cittas are with viriya and what citta are not with viriya, and citta are so different, so the samapatana or viriya is different. But when we talk about the path leading to enlightenment, it's there. Because who can understand the moment of kusala right now that it's not a kusala? So it's the function, it's a matter of all dhammas, cetasikas, performing the function unknown until only one appears as it is. And at that very moment, no word about it, but no doubt about the characteristic of it at all. Until then. But while one is trying to work out what is it at that moment, it's not the understanding of the characteristic of the reality which experiences, which has different characteristic from the others. But it can appear little by little, no word at all, as it is a reality which is there. But if Buddha didn't teach about all aspects of each reality, it's impossible to understand that actually, not no matter what, any moment, there must be such and such different characteristic of reality arising with a moment of citta. So when one is working out about the vriya, what about the seeing right now? See, it's there. No understanding. What about sammapadana? See, it's working. It performs function at moment of kusala citta developing, starting, beginning to consider the reality which experiences. At that moment, it's there, unknown, like it's in the book. It's there in the book, unknown. But now it's there at moment of seeing and the moment of studying with awareness, beginning to understand little by little, is there. No akusala, protect the moment not to be kusala and so on, and have more kusala, moment of developing understanding. We cannot understand the truth as the Buddha, but we can begin to understand from the book that the book just talk about the reality right now, that he didn't teach about anything else but only this moment, to be known little by little until it's the object of direct awareness, to let go the idea of no understanding, which takes seeing for I see, because not understand the nature which arises just to see. And the moment when beginning to understand, there must be sammapadana. At that moment, no thought with akusala trying as I and trying just wanting to understanding it. At that moment, it's not sammapadana, but at moment when it's conditioned for direct awareness, not forget about no understanding of seeing yet. Even it's there all the time in a day when one does not fall asleep, but no understanding of the nature which arises to see. From that moment, it can condition moment of beginning to be aware, just beginning to be aware. That is the beginning of direct awareness with very weak understanding, because it's just from hearing, considering, but not from learning the nature which is there, as it is that which experience or knows the object. No word, but from hearing again and again about that which experiences, it arises, no shape and no form, one getting closer a little bit to be conditioned as direct awareness and direct understanding, only a little. And it depends on condition, whether how will it arise again a little more or more enough to understand it. Whatever in life, no expectation at all to have such and such moment to be object. And there must be sammapadana, because at that moment it's not akusala, and it's moment of developing kusala to understand. But no word about that. But what are there as no self, not self at all, are taught from many aspects to have more confidence of the truth. Otherwise, there cannot be conditions for direct awareness at all, even right now. And if we just keep on to think about that, which cannot be the object of understanding, why? Because even that which is now the object is not object of understanding yet. So how can that which is there, which does not appear, which does not see, or other cetasika life of this life, only that which appears can be object of studying and understanding little by little, as it's that, only that, no one there at all. If there is no understanding of that which appears, there must be the idea of self, attachment to that because not understanding the truth. So it's me. I see, I hear, I think, I like, I dislike, I want to know, I want to do this, and so on, all day. And that is not sammapadana. Can there be any way to experience it when there's no understanding of that which appears now?
No, it has to be with understanding, the truth. Because when reading it about making effort for kusala to arise, it's one. I wasn't thinking about understanding, but it has to be there with the right effort, as in Satipatthana, as one of the factors of the path.
Because sati is not viriya. So sati cannot be sammapadana. But sati arises with sammapadana at moment of understanding what is there. You don't have to think about how many cetasikas are there and whether is it sammapadana or indriya or whatever, because they do not appear as object, but they are there. Otherwise, there's no condition to condition direct awareness with understanding of that which is now appearing. So in order to understand what are there, can condition moment of letting go, the idea of self, who can do? Because actually, even that is such and such that Buddha taught about. They are there as no self. No selection to try to experience it, but just to understand what can be known and what cannot be known now, just now, by conditions. Anyone would like to experience the Hatha Yatu or Jakupasada? It's not hard, it's not soft, it's not sweet, it's not smell. See? So what is it? Far to know, far to be object of understanding. Even is there, but it's not as close as moment of seeing what is there as the interior inside Rupa. So just learn to let go the idea of self. But what is the object? It depends on conditions, how much understanding is there to understand it as it is, little by little. Until any moment in life, there's no doubt about the characteristic which is not self, that which experiences now, and that which cannot experience now. So the path is so very subtle to know that it's so very deep because no understanding of no matter what is there, feeling, sanya, vedana, and other sankhara khanda, and even the vijnana khanda, that which is now experiencing. But it's better than not understanding anything at all. But it depends on how much understanding that which is not self, to let go the idea of self permanently, absolutely. Because the truth is that nothing can be taken for permanent, being permanent at all. Only just very short and then gone. And we cannot imagine how short it is. The citta before seeing and the citta after seeing. See, who knows each one with how many cetasikas are there, with virya or no with virya at all, with akusala virya or akusala virya, whether it understand the truth at that very moment, developing sammapadana is different from moment, from the daily virya, because no understanding at moment of seeing, hearing, until panya begins to develop to that degree by conditions. Is that pity to understand it now as it is, not as the object? Just to see the difference between kusala and akusala moment.
Ajahn, it seems that to understand Samapada Pradhana, one would have had to develop a lot of understanding, one which knows clearly the distinction between kusala and akusala, moments of sati and no sati. That means satipatthana. It's not, cannot be understood intellectually, except that it's a Dhamma and it's not self, isn't it, Ajahn?
Yes, because you see that we talk about Viriya, but what is the object now of the experiencing at this moment? See, so many things to be the object of understanding, to let go the idea of self, even hardness, see, even sound, even hearing, just like now, and seeing just like now. If it's not directly experienced with understanding, it's there, no letting go. Only the idea. To understand the truth of it is the study of Dhamma, not just the word. For example, we talk about Viriya as Sammapadana, but what about the nature which experiences now? Not Viriya as the object, but the object of seeing cannot be flower, cannot be person, cannot be anything at all, because it's only that which impinges on the eye base. See, and before that, even it impinges on the eye base, the citta does not see. It just advert to the object. See, and after seeing, the next citta after seeing does not see either, but it forms its function. And is the viriya? Who knows? And before it can be the sammapatthana, with understanding of the truth, the characteristic of self, it has to be more letting go of that which appears. Otherwise, we cannot say that letting go at all, because no understanding of that which is now appearing. So to know about sampatitthana, is there any letting go?
Ajahn, so long as it's intellectual level of understanding that what we're hearing about is a Dhamma, then the letting go will be just at that level.
No go wrong way. Letting go wrong way, wrong path. Then there's more confidence of the truth, more sattha of the truth. How can one go to meditation center to sit and try so hard to concentrate on an object? No understanding of what is now. What's the use?
That would be the opposite of letting go.
That's a wrong path. Wrong understanding is there. Wrong viriya, not sammapadana.
And before, when we were talking about restraint and sati developing with understanding as samvara, and when we read about samvara padana, the first of the four padanas, it is the virya that develops with sati and panya that restrains from akusala at that moment with understanding. There has to be virya as well that develops, and it leads to the abandoning, the pahana padana. Without the development of the samvara, the virya which restrains, how can there be the abandoning? So this is why I think the samvara padana is mentioned first. And at moments of enlightenment, there is abandoning of akusala, pahana, developed through the restraint. And the third one is the bhavana, pahana, the development of kusala with understanding, the development of right effort, not anyone who makes an effort, not anyone who can do anything, but the kusala virya has to develop with sati and with understanding, leading to enlightenment and to leading to the maintaining of those wholesome states. So they're all referring to the development of understanding with right effort. Whatever language we read about the monk avoids unwholesomeness or whatever, we know it's referring to understanding with sati and virya leading to the abandoning of ignorance and attachment and so on eventually.
And I think sometimes we forget that in the Dhamma, virya is the effort that arises together with kusala. So conventionally we think of effort as being something that precedes what is the aim or purpose of having the effort. Whereas in the Dhamma, it is something that accompanies kusala citta. There's no such thing as effort to have kusala in the following moments in the Dhamma. And so we have an idea of effort in that sense, but as Sarah has mentioned, effort is developed together whenever there is awareness or other kinds of kusala. The effort is there at those moments. It accumulates, and if there's understanding as well and awareness of appropriate level, then it develops also. Alberto, any more comments on why you think that the effort to develop should have more prominence than the effort to avoid?
No, I think Ajahn answered my question. I apologize to Alan. I think I grabbed his slot. Alan, can you ask your question, please? I'm sorry about it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I accept. No need to apologize, Alberto. Yeah, it's just a technical point about what Sarah said last week, that sati accompanies all sobbana cheetahs. Therefore, when, as I understand it, when you're fast asleep, there is sati. So what does it do when it's accompanying sobbana citta, which is not kusala citta, not wholesome citta, but when it's vipaka results, such as the bhavanga citta, as I understand it, it accompanies these cittas. So what's it doing? So I think that's for Sarah, really, isn't it? So you said it accompanies sobbana cittas.
So the reason for considering is to understand that sati is just a dhamma, a sobbana citta, a beautiful citta. Not anyone who can have awareness or make awareness arises. And it doesn't just arise with kusala cittas, such as at moments of kindness or wholesome restraint, but with any sopana citta. So this includes, as you say, moments of kusala vipaka with roots, not moments of seeing or hearing. So it has to be those cittas that arise with wholesome roots. So anytime the citta arises with wholesome roots, such as in this life as a human at moments of in deep sleep, because there are wholesome roots, then sati has to be there, and it always has its function of guarding or restraining. There's no akusala at those moments. So it has its function, and it rises with those other cittas all performing their functions too.
Okay, that's good. So yeah, so it's still guarding. It hasn't gone to sleep then. It's still performing the function of guarding even when you're fast asleep.
Just like if there are 3 wholesome roots, if there is panya at that moment of in deep sleep arising, it's also performing its functions. Aloba is performing its function. Our dosa is performing its function. So this is a way to understand a little more about the nature of realities of Chaitasikas, the moment of concentration is still focusing on the object at that moment. Because we're so used to I who focuses or makes an effort or guards, it's difficult to understand. It's just the function of Chaitasika to perform its particular function and fall away instantly. Manasikara arises at each moment, attending to the object. Passa contacts the object, even at those moments in deep sleep. So whatever Chaitasika it is, when it arises, it performs its function and falls away, in this case, by way of vipaka. So its result different from at moments of kusala or akusala. But perhaps Ajahn would like to add more.
Can the cat also sleep?
Can what sleep, sorry?
The garden, the sati.
Oh,
See,
the
if you
sleep.
use the term guard, sleep too?
Yeah, I suppose that sleep is the absence of seeing and hearing, isn't it? So it's I can understand, yeah, that it's still there. It can't go to sleep, no. It must be there.
And what is sleep then?
Sleep is just the life continuum, Bhavanga Chitta. So no seeing, no hearing, no thinking, no no experiencing through the 5 doorways.
Can what is there perform the function as kusala or akusala?
Yes, so there is no kusala or
At
akusala.
that moment of sleeping, what are
Yes.
the sleeps? Can they perform the function like moment of liking, disliking, doing something, eating, and so on?
Yes.
And it
Well, I think that sati is performing its function when you're asleep. Yes.
eating,
No.
so it sleeps, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's the function of vipaka citta. That's why we have to understand the difference of citta too. Why it is vipaka and what kind of vipaka. The vipaka which experience the object, or the vipaka which does not experience, but it's there. Life continuum. It cannot die yet. See, just their condition for it to wake up and experience, as long as karma is there to condition the moment of sleeping, not doing anything at all, like eating, seeing, walking, washing, or anything. So what about all Cetasikas are there? Even they have their characteristic and their function, but as vipaka, conditioned by karma, just to arise, continue on until death, moment of death. Before moment of hearing, and what are there in a day, and then one in between all the time. See, so the moment of seeing is so short and then gone because Bhavanga is there. And what about the Cetasikas which arise with Bhavanga and the Cetasikas which arise with Kusala and Akusala? That's why they are different by the nature of whether it is Vipaka or Kusala or Kiriya. They cannot be the same. Even they are the gods or the wholesome Cetasikas, but it's not time to perform the function of that at moment of javana and so on.
But they are still, so Sati Cetasika still performs its function. It still has its object, and it still performs the function of guarding.
And
When
what
it
is the object?
the object is the same object as the rebirth consciousness, which is not known in daily life.
So can it be known like the moment of experiencing what it says through the 6 doorways?
No.
So what about the function as that which experiences or that which does not experience yet?
Right. But Sati is nama. It experiences an object.
But who can know the moment of Bhavanka when nothing appears at all?
Only panya, only understanding.
And so what about all Cetasikas which arise with that vipaka, forming the Bhavanka? Do they perform their function just like at moment when it experiences the objects?
Yes, they perform their function. They must perform their function.
Really?
Not the same.
It does not hear. So how can it perform its function to guard or to like, dislike?
But no, but it is there, isn't it? So it's performing a function.
It's just the quality of the Bhavanka which is conditioned from the Kamma to be the result, to be born as such, and be born, and Bhavanka keep on being that person until death. That's all.
Yeah.
That's not see, that's not hear, that's not perform the function of that which experiences the object through 6 doorways.
But what function then does Sati perform when it accompanies Bhavanga?
It cannot change its characteristic. That's why Bhavanka is different. Bhavanka of snake, Bhavanka of Sariputta, Bhavanka of the lay people, and so on, because the difference of the Cetasikas, which is conditioned to by Kamma to be there, to keep on, to be ready to arise when there are conditions, when time comes, at moment of experiencing. Nobody can change the sati to arise, and then at moment of experience, it performs its function as sati.
So
As
at the
when
moment,
it's there.
at the moment of Bhavanga is
Bhavanka
not
cannot
performing.
be changed because all Cetasikas there are conditioned by Kamma.
Okay. So Sati is not performing its function of guarding at the moment of Bhavanga.
Because it's not the kusala or akusala or kriya.
Okay.
It's the vipaka, and some vipaka experience object like the talamana and
Yes.
seeing and hearing and so on. But
Yeah.
the other moment, Bhavanka does not perform its function as when it experiences the object. But nobody can change its characteristic from being sati, but not to have akusala coming in.
Right. Okay.
Alan,
Yes.
think about it this way. If Sati was performing the function of guarding the senses during Bhavanga, we'd all be developing a lot of Sati.
Yes, I can see it's different because it's Vipaka. But at the same time, it was interesting what Sarah said was that there is no akusala at all when you're fast asleep. It has to be, so there's no akusala coming in. It's vipaka, and it's kind of, I suppose, protected from anything else, is it?
But that's the same with animals. No akusala
Yes.
during deep sleep.
Yes, but of course it would be, in the case of the animal, it would be unwholesome. There wouldn't be sati there, would there? Because
No.
it's unwholesome. No. It was. I mean, it's. I can see it's a technical point, but I can see that we're beginning to understand the difference between vipaka and kusala. These are quite different, and when these cetasikas, these mental factors accompany Vipaka, which is result, they're conditioned to be, they're different. They have a different quality. I think that's quite. I think that's important to understand this difference between Vipaka and Kusala. They are different. It colors, the Vipaka colors all the Chetasikas by conditions, and vice versa. So
And the go on. Sorry.
That's
what about at the moment of seeing, the manasikara that arises with seeing it's the same cetasika with the same characteristic and function, but it's different from the manasikara that arises with at moments of kusala or akusala, which attend to the object in a wholesome or unwholesome way, because the manasikara that arises from seeing is just result, it's just vipaka,
yes,
but it's still the same manasikara with the same proximate condition, characteristic, nature, function, but it's not the same as the kusala or akusala manasikara. And the same with sati that arises at moments of, arises with bhavanga. It's vipaka, even though it's the same reality that arises at moments of kusala or akusala.
Yeah.
Or passa that is kusala vipaka. It's still passa, it still contacts the object and so on, but it's not the same as the passa that arises with kusala chitta or akusala chitta.
Yes, so different chitas produced by different conditions, and they are different by way of their birth.
By way of their jati, exactly.
By way of their jati, yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's it's a kind of technical point that cannot be directly experienced, I think. It's beyond directly experienced.
It's helpful to know that even at the moment of seeing now, manasikara is there, because people have the idea that they need to pay attention, for example, but what about manasikara now at this moment of seeing? Can anyone make it arise? And the same with sati, people think they need to be aware, but what about sati in deep sleep? Who can make it arise or stop it arising? So it shows how anatta all these realities are. Or
yes,
like
and the same with concentration as well. That's the idea of I can concentrate. Each moment there.
Yes. Or virya, which arises with every chitta except for 16 of the ahetuka chittas. So even in deep sleep, virya is there at those moments of bhavanga.
We have the factors, the 8 factors of the Eightfold Path. We can see that confidence is very important for the development of understanding. They go hand in hand. When you understand the teachings, you have more confidence, and more confidence, you have more understanding. But it's not a factor of the Eightfold Path, is it? Is there any particular reason why these 8 factors are singled out? The Buddha classified realities in many different ways. The Eightfold Path is one way, the 18 elements or whatever is another way. But is there any particular reason why confidence shouldn't be a factor of the 8 factors? Because it's quite critical for the development of understanding.
And it is one of the 5 balas. It is an indriya, one of the powerful factors. So it has to develop with understanding. It just depends what one's talking about.
Would the future Buddha then classify things in the same way? Will there be an Eightfold Path for the future Buddha? Or do you think that's just a convention? They're just classifying it as different ways is perhaps a convention according to the particular accumulations of the person who becomes Buddha?
Alan, it's the Eightfold Path because it has to be these 8, not 9 or not 2. It has to be all these 8. They're all important, and they're all help each other. And so if this is the path, then it's the path. Any Buddha will, it's going to be the same. Now, how do we understand this? How much we can understand it is a different point. So when we're talking about Saddha, and Sarah just mentioned that it's one of the Indriyas and the Balas, and you're saying it's not one of the 8 factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. I think this is, I don't understand, but it comes to understanding and understanding each of these realities for what they are. And then you'll understand why one is a Bala and not a factor of the old path, Eightfold Path.
Mm.
I think Alan's point, Sukhin, is that there are more Jetasikas at the moment of Magajita than the 8. So
really?
other Sovana Jetasikas would be present also, as
Oh,
I
right.
understand.
I understand, but they're not 8. But they're not the one of the path factors. They're not. The others are not the path factors.
Not singled out for mention.
Is it just a matter of single out because or they don't perform the kind of function that those 8 perform? I'm not sure, but that's what I understand.
So
In
can
answer
we?
to Alan's earlier question, some of the things taught by the Buddha are things that are taught by all Buddhas. I think the Four Noble Truths is one of them. I'm not sure about the Noble Eightfold Path. And other things are according to the individual Buddha's perception, accumulations.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure one needs to try and make a distinction and work out what is what and why.
What can we? How do we define? What do we say is path factor? So we've got this word path factor, haven't we? Because we know, as you say, Jonathan, that the Magajita is accompanied by lots of different Sobana Chetasikas. But what do we mean by path factor then? Anybody?
Well, as Sukhin says correctly, the 8 are path factors because they are mentioned by the Buddha as factors of the Eightfold Path. They are Atanga, 8 factors. The path is an 8-factored path. And that's the way it's taught.
Yes.
So that's what makes them path factors.
And I would think, Alan, too, that the Arya is called Arya Tangika Magga. That would be all Buddhas would be preaching that, would be teaching about that. I don't think that would change from Buddha to Buddha. Would not change. Yeah, I've never thought about this too much before, but it's a good question. But I'd be interested to see what Ajahn would say. Ajahn Cup, what do you think regarding that question of Ellen's?
Okay, what are the Eightfold Paths?
Right understanding, right thinking. Yeah.
Let's consider the first path, right understanding. Without right understanding, can there be the understanding of the truth of what is there now?
No.
So all paths, the other paths has to be with right understanding. Otherwise,
Yes.
it can be the path at all. And in there, it does mean that there can be the realization of the truth instantly. That's why the Jetasikas, which condition the understanding to grow, to develop, must be all 8. The second one,
Thinking, right thinking. Vitarka.
Jetasika is there.
Yeah, Vitarka, Chetasika.
Does it arise to the sensor as well?
Yes.
Does it think when it experiences the sense object?
It wouldn't be a factor at that moment, no. Only jhana.
That's why it does not perform the function of thinking all the time. But what is their true characteristic and their true function. Phassa is that which contact. So the 10 citta do not have the vitaka arising with them, right?
Yeah.
The 10
Right. Yes.
and so on. But from that moment on, Sampatitjana needs vitaka to touch the object, to experience it, because it does not see. If there is no touching of that object, how can Sampatitjana experience that?
Yes.
That's why, in order to experience more or clearer, it needs vitaka, right?
Yes. Yes.
So it does not perform just the function of thinking, but how to explain the function of vitaka. If we don't study and understand the nature of it, just keep on thinking about the word, it is not thinking, but it's there from moment of sampatitjana until the moment of the second jhana, there's no vitaka and so on. We study more and more to understand different ones, even it's vitaka cetasika. That's why, in order to understand the teachings, there must be vitaka touching the object for understanding, to understanding it. See, and
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody is aware. See, and we can understand the different function, different characteristics, because vitaka can have any object, but sati, it arises at moment of sopana, moment, and it has to be panya which condition it to be aware directly of the object right now. If there is no understanding, how can there be the sammasati? Just being aware the nature of that which arises, but it cannot understand, but it is aware. Usually, at this moment, we touch, but no awareness. There is thinking, no awareness of whatever is there. But at moment when right understanding develop, it condition moment of being aware of an object there. The function of it, the characteristic of it appears then that it is the awareness of a reality which is unaware of before, like hardness now. See,
Hmm.
it can be object of direct awareness, sammasati, but it needs panya to condition or the path, no matter the other factors of the path. And this is the second one. See, that's why we begin to understand about vitaka, with jhana, with svajana, and then on and on, with this moment or that moment, with the as it is the one of the factor of the Eightfold Path. And the third one, see, all our daily life, because if there's no understanding develop in daily life, it's impossible to realize the truth, which is the Ariya Satya, experiencing directly the truth which arises and fall away, to let go the idea of self little by little until it's completely eradicated at moment of Makkacitta.
And abstaining from, say, wrong speech, that's a factor of the Eightfold Path, but actually that's most in a day. That's not often in a day, that particular reality. Why is that reality a factor of the Eightfold Path?
When there is panya, can there be wrong deeds, wrong speech, wrong livelihood?
No.
So it's there. Together at moment of Makkah, but not together at the other moment. All three arise at the moment of Makkacitta, but one by one at the other moment. Not all
Right.
together, not the three together. To perform the function completely, absolutely, not breaking the five precepts or do such wrong deeds in order to go to hell of Abhaya Puma, woeful flame.
So we can see that right understanding conditions right speech and right action. does it work the other way around? That right speech, right action can condition understanding?
Can it?
I suppose it's a support for it, in the sense that when there is right speech, there is no akusla, no unwholesomeness. So one could say that was a kind of a support, or as maybe the Dhammapada expresses it, the attendance of the wise. Is that right? You could say that the right speech, right action, right livelihood is a support for Panya.
Anyone can have conditions to do good deeds, but what about understanding the truth of what is there now without hearing the teachings, without panya?
Yes, not possible.
But when there's panya, it understands what's right and what's wrong. So it conditions more wholesome moments, no matter
Yes,
it's good speech or deeds.
yes. If somebody is naturally, by their accumulation, kind and considerate, and that they abstain from a right action, a wrong action, and wrong speech, then that is helpful to develop Panya. Is it not?
Alan, that's kusala, but it's not right. When we say right, then we're talking about the rights by virtue of having arisen with Panya.
Yes, yes. I suppose we have many people have the idea that in order to develop Panya, it's important to have kusala, to do good deeds, to be kind, to considerate and compassionate. But actually, it's the other way round, isn't it? That the understanding of the teachings is a condition for abstaining from wrong speech, wrong livelihood, etc.
But still, when it's with Panya, only then is it right. So even when understanding has developed and one has more kusala, more restraint, more dana, it depends if it's arisen with right understanding or not. If it's not arisen with right understanding, then it's not one of the rights.
Yes, I see that. Yeah, it's not a factor of the Eightfold Path if it's not accompanied by right understanding. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
This is why right understanding is said to be the forerunner, the leader. Without right understanding, there can't be any other rights. So they support and condition each other. But right understanding is the leader, the forerunner.
Yes. So I suppose you could say that they condition each other.
So the other right factors, they all support. Like Ajahn said, there cannot be right understanding without
Vitakka,
Dhamma Sankappa, and so on, the other right factors. But still, understanding is the leader.
And also, going back to my original question, it's the leader for confidence, because without the confidence comes from understanding the teachings, not the other way around. So that even that is confidence comes from
how can there be confidence that it's just seeing which sees now, not anyone, if there is no understanding of the nature of seeing?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. It's interesting discussion.
Jyotika, do you have any topics you would like to bring up today?
I just can follow. I can just follow the discussion by bits. It was amazing to see that light understanding is before everything, before to get the right effort.
Jyotika, it's not so much as before as in prior. it is the leader, but it has to arise with the others. Without the other right understanding is meaningless. So right understanding is the leader, but with it, there has to be right sati, right concentration, etc.
Visit.
We've been talking quite a lot today, Jyotika, about how when we're talking about right effort or right awareness or any of these factors, how it's not I who makes an effort, it's not I who is aware, it's not I who concentrate, it's not I who understands. They are just different mental factors that arise together and support each other. But without understanding, how can any of this be known? How can it be known that there's no I to make an effort if there is no understanding? So understanding is the key factor. This is why it's said to be the leader. But without the development of right awareness, right effort, and so on, supporting it and conditioning it, it cannot develop. So these factors develop together, but no one on the path, no one to make an effort, no one to do anything. Is this amazing to consider? Is it a relief to begin to consider and understand more and more that it's no I to do anything or make an effort or be aware, but these factors just develop very naturally from hearing and considering again and again, so that the understanding develops by itself, not by I making the understanding arise.
Just by this discussion, I see that also with the right effort, that I was talking about the right effort or trying to understand to get it in balance. We always say that to balance it, but if you do not understand, the I, then there's no right effort.
That's exactly it. We read about balance of the faculties or the indriyas, and there's the idea that I can do some balancing, or I can make an effort, or I should have less confidence and more understanding, or something like this, not understanding at all that each reality, each moment of understanding is conditioned, each moment of confidence is conditioned according to different accumulations and tendencies, no one to do anything. So when it's the idea of I balancing or I making an effort, it's not the right path, it's not the right way.
And the balancing is also just conditioned realities. In particular, I think sati performs the function of balancing the other factors. So although the texts talk about balancing various factors, again, we read it a certain way and we interpret it in the way we conventionally understand this term balancing, but it's referring to conditioned dhammas. So again, it is conditioned dhammas that do the balancing.
That conditioning.
Yeah, it's conditions, if you like, that do the balancing.
And it's right now, so each moment now, each chitta, each cetasika that arises now arises by its conditions and performs its function. No one there at all to do anything. It's a fantasy, the idea that I can do anything.
But it looks that I want to see that conditioning. Where is it? How is it? But I cannot see it.
Well, that's the function of understanding, to see it.
Yeah,
so we cannot expect to have that result so quickly. Of course, it would be nice to have more understanding and see things more clearly, but that's the point of the Buddha's teaching, to unveil what is hidden. And the world of conditioned realities is hidden until it has been disclosed. And just hearing about it for the first time, or however long it is not enough. So it's gradual and it takes time. So patience.
Patience. Conclusion.
Patience, another aspect of virya.
Of
And I want to see it, but no eye that can see anything. So it's just kind of clinging to I who wants to see it. But what about this moment of wanting? This moment of wanting is just a moment of attachment, conditioned by prior attachment. So that is understanding the nature of attachment. It's just conditioned to arise by itself because of that tendency, that habit of clinging. No matter it's clinging to I who wants this or I that or anything, it's just clinging and then it's gone. At a moment of wise considering, no clinging at all. So gradually, by understanding and considering more about what is true now, what is real now, this is the way there is a little more understanding about how what arises now arises by conditions, not by I wanting anything.
so desire to understand is it always akusala?
When it's wanting something for oneself, that is lobha. But when it's the wholesome interest, the interest in understanding because of understanding the value, it's different. So only understanding can understand at this very moment, whether it's attachment or whether it's wise considering with wholesome interest. Because chanda can be wholesome or unwholesome. The interest can arise with attachment or it can arise with understanding and wholesome factors. But only the understanding at this moment can begin to know it. But
And
usually
also,
there's so much clinging in a day. It's so very natural.
And also, Jyotika, today Ajahn was talking about joy and letting go a lot. So what she was pointing at was that at the moment of right understanding, there is letting go and there is joy. So you can consider that when you want to understand, is it either or in fact just the opposite of that?
I feel mostly very happy when I understand. Yeah, when I think that I understand something, it is such a amazing, I think, and that there is so much to understand, or that is so great. So yeah.
And each time that happened without trying to understand or wanting to understand, right?
No, I have a longing to understand.
Yeah, but when the understanding occurred, which conditioned happiness, knowing, understanding, was that, did that come about by wanting to understand? Did you think about wanting to understand, or it just happened?
It sometimes happens, and then it is very joyful. Yeah, joy is not the right word, I think, but it is very peaceful. It feels happy.
I think that the perfections help so much. And that's why Ajahn always stresses that all the perfections have to be developed together with understanding. the perfection of nekama, detachment, and they all help together, but we can't really pinpoint which one or which one. But they go their own way, they help. So no worry about it.
No, I understand when there is worry, then I think there is this attachment, I think.
Yes.
I have a question, if I may. We were talking earlier about deep sleep, Bhavanga Chittas, and so I was having this thought about the fact that we all have to sleep. Being humans or animals, we all have to sleep. But of course, there are some people who can't sleep. So I was thinking, what do we say? Is it sleeping? Can we say that this tendency to sleep is just accumulations?
If we're talking about Bhavanga Chitas, it has to be a result of karma, not the accumulated tendency, like the disturbance because of not sleeping. That is the accumulated tendency, but those moments of Bhavanga are the result of karma.
So like
Not the
seeing, like
accumulation.
hearing, like seeing and hearing is just result. Bhavanga arises at a particular time and for hours on end. That's because of just being result of karma, right?
Result of karma when it arises. And who knows how many Bhavanga Chitas there are even now in between sense door processes and mind door processes. Who knows during the night how many Bhavanga Chitas they are, but whenever it arises, it's a result of karma.
So even now between the sense door, the amount of Bhavanga, it all depends on karma. Is that what you're
sense
saying?
door and mind door, whenever Bhavanga Chitta arises, just like whenever seeing or hearing arises, it has to be the result of karma. Like someone might say conventionally, oh, I didn't hear anything in the last hour. Actually, countless moments of hearing as a result of karma. So it's not like what we think is the reality. Who can know how many Bhavanga Chittas arise in a day?
But it can vary. You're saying it can vary. Like right now
like
between the
during
sense
the
and
night,
the mind, or
like
no,
during
now,
the night, or
not during the night. I'm saying like now. Your voice is not coming, Sarah.
like now between the sense door and mind door, we know there must be at least a minimum of 2 or 3 or something, but how many they are depends on karma. Whenever it arises, it depends on karma.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Ajahn, anything you would like to conclude for the discussion today?
On the mic again, yeah. And the two moments are moments when Buddha performed the Patihara miracle, the Yamaka miracle. So for the other person, more than that, much more than that, unknown. That's why it's just like now, seeing and hearing and thinking appears as all at once in a moment, but actually not at all. And there must be Wanka in between. Uncountable too, nobody can count. Uncountable means nobody can count. We don't know how much or moment or how many moments are there. But it's said that 2 moments for Buddha when he performed the miracles.
Just the exception.
Yes.
Or depending on karma, how many uncountable Bhavanga Chittas arise.
It shows that how repetitive the succession of the arising and falling away of this moment now. See, even the citta before seems unknown and the cittas before after seeing unknown. What can appear is very, very few, like attachment. Who knows that it's not seeing? It's moment of liking after seeing.
And these are the accumulations of the liking after seeing, and the disliking. And in the night, even if someone says they were awake all night, but still countless Bhavanga citas arising and falling away, completely unknown, whatever anyone may think.
But having restless or not restless, when it's not sleeping, then it's accumulations.
And this is why it's impossible to understand about the truth or realities by just thinking of the conventional situation, having the idea, oh, I didn't sleep, and therefore the one having an idea there were no Bhavanga citas, but it's not any understanding of anything about actual reality and the difference between Bhavanga citas and the restlessness, different moments, different conditions.
And we can see how impossible it is to understand without hearing the Dhamma.
Piti or no piti?
Ajahn, only when Panya arises, and otherwise we're just guessing.
That's why how piti those people who went to see Buddha said after they heard the teachings.
Thank you very much, Ajahn, Anumodana.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Sawadika. Yeah. Bye-bye, everyone. See you all next time.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, everybody, and goodbye.
สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์
Sawadee-ka.
Glad to see you again, Jyotika.
Yeah, me too. To see you.
Keep coming every week, even if it's difficult.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, sometimes I can. But one
If
week
you're free.
I had to rest because it was too strong. Yeah.
Or you can always join for part of the discussion and rest for